In 1800 and froze to death, the infamous summer of 1816 when the Tamboro volcanic ash cloud, lowered temperatures worldwide and caused winter weather in this region in every summer month. I'm not invoking this, by the way, to encourage this to continue today. The fish of the Missisquoi and Trout rivers were famously, very famously, legal tender for almost the entire year, which assured the survival of all in this watershed in that very bad year. And by legal tender, I mean literally they were used as money. These fish and this river sustained everybody in that bad time. We're a long way from that place of extraordinary ancient capacity, and thanks to Bill Sorrell for mentioning we have more work to do. I really was dreading following you guys because the community spirit here should be honored in every way. However, there is more to be done. In recent decades, there are so many signs of the general awakening to the ancient truths the Abenaki and other indigenous peoples of this hemisphere have always known, that we are part of the natural world around us, and that has been invoked by several of you here. And I'm so grateful for you to say that, to hear that today. So this wild and scenic river designation is a profoundly important collaborative first step in a long road to return these waterways and the surrounding lands to their full ecological capacity. For everyone who has worked to make this possible, Kitsilini, great thanks.
When I was growing up, my dad used to say to me, "Donna, you always have to have the last word," and I'd say, "No, I don't." Always. For the past 4 years, I've been assistant teaching at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst in anthropology, and my students know I always give them a little piece of trivia, at least, well, I want to say once every class, but it's more like 10 times every class. So here's yours. This canoe company is in Minnesota, right? And the name on it, Winona. Winona, 1,000 years ago, the Anishinaabe people, the Chippewa, what's the other name? Huh? Ojibwe people, their real name is Anishinaabe, lived right next to us, right next to the Abenaki. We're very closely related before they migrated. Winona is a word in their language that means first daughter. Okay? So there's your trivia for the day. Have a good paddle for those of you who are going.
You heard about just the incredible assistance that Jim and Jamie brought to John and Shana and the committee. It equally is the case with the Northern Forest Canoe Trail. And this is a very long and special relationship that began actually with and I have to recognize my wife, Kay Henry. Kay went to Washington. As a good friend of ours said, if you don't sit at the table, you're not going to eat. And Senator Leahy became an incredible champion for the work that Kay presented to him, co-authored by Senator Gregg from New Hampshire, and it materialized into a project that Lelia never knew. Come on up here, Lelia. Ever imagined she'd get involved in. The Northern Forest Canoe Trail was the first collaborative effort in the Northeast region with Lilia's colleagues in Vermont, Maine, and New York out of the Boston office back in 2002. And it's remarkable that today she's begun work with Walter in crafting a long-term management plan that'll be a template for water trails across the United States. And Lelia would say, "Rob, you're thinking way too big." And I said, "The only reason we're getting involved with you, lady, is because we're thinking big." And I want to just, in conclusion, say her passion for water trails has taken her to be the national coordinator for water trails, along with the Washington office. Real pleasure, Lilia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rob, and everyone. It's a great day, and I won't keep you long. I've worked with the Northern Forest Canoe Trail, as Rob just said, on and off now for almost 15 years. But what they were tasked me today to talk about was economics of water trails and recreation. And so I'll just briefly talk about that. and what it means to the Missisquoi. So they say about 50% of Americans consider themselves active outdoor recreationalists, and the growing sports within that are kayaking, fishing, and stand-up paddleboarding, which is just growing by leaps and bounds. And what does that mean for our economy? It means that $646 billion are spent every year in America on that. Now, that's a number I can't comprehend at all. But $646 billion is the direct price that they pay, and then that gets fed out through indirect costs to all these communities for them to come buy gas, to buy foods, to eat at your restaurants, et cetera, stay in your hotels. And that's pretty significant. And then that translates into 6 million jobs in the outdoor recreation business. So that's hiring your fishing guide, you're hiring an outfitter, renting a canoe, getting a fishing license, etc. So this all kind of comes back to the Missisquoi, because if people didn't have a place to recreate, they wouldn't come out. And here you have this beautiful resource that you've now made possible for it to last in perpetuity, for people to get out and for it to be clean and healthy. So now you get to think about what you do with it, and it's going to be exciting. You could potentially go for National Water Trail designation, which we can explore with you guys if you want. You already have the Northern Forest Canoe Trail overlaid on your great resource, and now you just get to think big. So have fun with it, and good luck.
And this is the fun part. When you mix the energy of this man with the energy of this woman, you better fasten your seatbelts. Carrie Thomas, Northern Forest Canoe Trail, has just been fallen in love with the folks who live here and working with the town of Richford, and I'll let her share a few minutes.
Hi guys. I am the last person to thank you for being here today. As we've all noted in this designation, this would never have come to pass without all of the efforts of the people here today. But similarly, this event specifically would never have come to pass without the tireless effort and creativity of Rob Center. So we just have to thank him. It is the Northern Forest Canoe Trail's 15th anniversary this year, and Rob, along with Kay Henry, are also totally responsible for the existence of the Northern Forest Canoe Trail and it coming about in its entirety. They were at Mad River Canoe when they first heard the idea from a bunch of adventurers who were kind of passing through. And a few years later, when they sold when the company was sold, they were kind of wondering, well, what are we going to do next? That's kind of a nice idea. And they loved the idea of this long-distance paddling trail and sharing the rich history of the Northern Forest through a paddling experience. But they were really compelled by a much larger vision, and that is the story that Lelia was sharing with us, that this could be an incredible resource. Creating nature-based tourism in this region could really be a boon, considering that there had been decades of decline in the historic economic drivers in this area in the forest products industry. So really, they were driven by this interest to create a recreational resource that would drive a new economy to grow out of this region. And it was this vision that actually convinced Senator Leahy to lead the entire congressional delegations from all 4 trail states to provide a level of sustainability through funding and resources that were really what made it possible for the trail to get off the ground. So we owe a lot to the work that Kay did in sitting at the table with the federal government and bringing those resources to this area. With this backing, they all set out to together regional collaborations like the one that has happened here and that Rob described earlier along the Missisquoi, relying on critical local partners to facilitate each community's ability to consider what they might do with this resource running through their backyard. The same process of collaboration and community engagement happened in waves over 6 years and across 740 miles from the Adirondacks to the Allagash, until the official opening of the trail in 2006. And in fact, the first through paddlers were only a few days behind the crew that was setting out the trail markers as the trail was opening. So since then, as an organization, we've continued to build access points and campsites and portage routes and privies. We've convened communities to help develop recreational tourism and economic drivers. We've developed 13 map set and a guidebook and a pretty extensive website that helps in trip planning, which desperately needs revision, so we're working on that still. It provides an incredible amount of information for people who want to travel the region, but also about the incredible resources that they can find in each community, whether it's a bed and breakfast or a restaurant or a resupply stop. We really put a strong effort into driving business into the community as we drive people to the trail. Where am I here? And so now our work focuses more than ever on bringing people to paddling and people to the trail. Today's event kicks off a whole summer of activities that you can see listed behind me. There'll be, of course, the Richford River Fest. There'll be the paddle pedal race there. There'll be the Friends of Northern Lake Champlain Clean Water Cookout. There'll be a family paddling day at the Missisquoi National Wildlife Refuge. The list kind of continues to go on. And just a little public service announcement, if you want more information about those, celebratetheMissisquoi.com right behind me. In closing, the NFCT's waterways provide not only geographic thread across the Northern Forest region, they also connect a common respect. For the history, a celebration of local creativity and eagerness to innovate shared by communities all along the route. These waterways give life to a connection between people and place that is the primary story informing the trail, and that will continue to sustain the region for years to come. We are so proud to be part of this Missisquoi community, and we're looking forward to another 15 years. Thanks for being here.
You won't believe we want your lovers. It's hard to see. You thought that you love could die without a sound. Plenty of heartaches to go around. We are the losers and we have lost. Time will tell how much it costs. Here comes the darkness, best friend we found.